Hey travelers, Thomas the Human Bard jumping in here real quick. Somewhere along the way during this day, somebody somewhere rolled a natural 1 for something because we had a lot of trouble with this episode. You're going to notice a couple of audio issues throughout. We were having some technical difficulties, and the document that we discuss, we had reached out to the creator and gotten an updated version of the document to make sure that we were discussing the most updated, most edited version. And I did send the wrong version when we were discussing it. So I had the updated version and we don't talk about it. We talk about the non-updated version. So we'll include a link to the updated version in the description below. Please go down there, check out that updated version. I'm sure a lot of the things that we talk about have been addressed in that version, so I definitely recommend checking it out. And we want to apologize to the creator for that oversight. Enjoy the episode. Hello travelers, welcome to the Copper Fox Inn. Come on in, take a seat and join us as we discuss Homebrew for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. My name is Thomas the Human Bard. I am joined today by
Mercy the Tiefling Wizard,
Onog the Half-Orc Barbarian,
and thine greatest legume, the gnome of rocks and roguery.
Did you change your background to noble again?
No, sorry guys, that was just my announcement.
I told you can't change backgrounds mid-campaign.
I feel like I could if I really wanted to, or if I married a noble.
not gonna lie, I'm pretty sure one of you did change backgrounds mid-campaign, if I remember
I would
correctly.
argue that if you change your if you marry a noble, your background does not become noble.
Right.
Your foreground becomes
Yeah, characters need a background and a foreground. That is what I'm looking for in D&D 6th edition.
Somebody make it
A background, midground, foreground.
on this
The
show.
foreground is the numbers.
On this show, we discuss.
For the record,
Okay.
I'm being the rock gnome rogue.
Are you want to try again,
What a
Thomas?
train wreck. On this show, we discuss homebrew for Dungeons & Dragons. If you have homebrew that you want us to talk about on this show, comment it below or send it to our email, thecopperfoxinn@gmail.com, or on social media at thecopperfoxinn.
You should follow us there anyways.
Well,
Do it.
I mean, like, give us our personal space, but yeah.
No, don't. Follow us on social media.
Follow us around. Okay. It's funny you should mention legumes, Bean.
It is always funny. I'm really funny,
I know.
right? Like,
Man.
did you like my joke?
Man, my segue game's off today. I was gonna roll right into plant something, and I just lost it right after I said legumes. I was just like, no.
Well, it was also because
What's
you said
the
funny
point?
legumes, and I didn't yes and you. I just
It's
went,
okay.
yes, me.
I kind of threw a little Nerf football to you that you just let fall straight to the floor.
You just smacked into the
You
ground.
threw me a Nerf football, and I held up a mirror, and I was like, dang, who is that?
You held up a
That
mirror, and you're like, back at you, and you reflected it back at me.
Yes.
All right, so today on this episode, we're going to be talking about a homebrew for Dungeons from r from r/Unearthed Arcana from the user DM Forever with an A on the end.
Nice.
They have
Who's Ava?
Okay. They have a comment on
The
the
jokes
post.
are too funny.
The jokes are too funny. I can't take it.
It's the comedy police.
I'm not going back to jail. They've got a post. They've got. Oh my goodness. They have a comment. They have a comment on the post that they give the PDF. I'm struggling so hard.
I'm sorry. Some help?
Mercy.
Need some help?
Mercy. This isn't me asking, please help me. This is me saying your name. Mercy, can you tell the listeners, the travelers, and Bean and Onog, what kind of a druid you wanted to make the other day that inspired us to look around for a homebrew like this?
Yeah, I sure can.
Thank you.
So
Save me, please.
Go take some deep breaths in the corner.
I give
and
myself
come back when you're
bardic
ready.
inspiration. I'll be back in 5.
You know, he's high enough level, he can do that.
So I am making a character that is generally based on Poison Ivy because
Nice.
she's one of my favorite characters. I just watched the DC Harley Quinn show, the new animated show on their streaming
Nice.
service.
It's so
and
good.
It's so good.
so good.
Don't watch it with kids or conservative parents, but other than that, I highly recommend it.
I mean,
Is that from personal experience?
honestly, that's very fair.
Yeah. But it's delightful, and I love the Poison Ivy in that one specifically, and I've always liked Poison Ivy, so I wanted to play Poison Ivy. So the closest thing I could find in, kind kind of vanilla D&D as it exists was a Circle of Spores druid, and I was going to do some reflavoring.
Which isn't even really vanilla D&D. It's an unearthed arcana.
Yeah, well, and it was also
it was
released
in the
Guilds of
Ravnica.
Ravnica,
Xanathar's Guide to
Like a French vanilla D&D, if you will.
Xanathar's Guide has the Circle of Shepherds and the Circle of Dreams.
Yeah,
and
this
then
one
the
is
Oh
in
no, you're
Ravnica.
right. Spores is the Ravnica one.
Yeah, it's in the Ravnica one.
Yeah, and I was gonna also have to do some reflavoring of like when I cast, Chill Touch. Let's say it's a Venus flytrap that chomps them instead of a skeleton hand. So you can always do that to make a character.
Or like when we talked about when wild shaping, maybe instead of turning into an animal, you get covered in vines and become like a monster with the stats of an animal.
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, none of those were hitting that perfect flavor
and this
kind of itch.
was a very timely suggestion.
Yeah, we then saw this on Reddit, and we thought, man, this is perfect for that. And this is well designed. I enjoyed some of the thoughts in here, some of the creativity on display, so I wanted to highlight user DM Forever and the good work that they did. This is the Circle of Flowers Druid. Druids of the Circle of Flowers focus their communion with nature on the flourishing green flora that surrounds them. These druids embrace the essential role that all plants play in balancing our world, from the highest oak to the lowest green moss. The spirits of green and wooded things may be slow and distant, but druids of this circle know they can also be patient, wise, and powerful. Circle spells. At 2nd level, you learn the Mage Hand cantrip, which appears for you in the form of a delicate grasping vine. Which, man, that's so good.
I love that.
At 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 9th level, you gain access to the spells listed for that level in the Circle of Flowers spells table. Once you gain access to one of these spells, you always have it prepared, and doesn't count against the number of spells you can prepare each day. They get Entangle, Spike Growth, Plant Growth, Speak with Plants, Blight, Grasping Vine, Awaken, and Tree Stride, which I did just read as Tree Slide, and I thought that sounded very fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
That sounds cool. I also thought you had said spite growth, as in you cast it at people and they're like, now I'm not doing it.
They become really petty.
Yeah.
That's very good. I like
Love
that a
that.
lot. All right, Mercy, do you want to read the next?
Yeah. Wild Seed. Also at 2nd level, you gain the ability to mold and direct. You gain the ability to mold, because you're a plant.
Oh, no. Technically, all humans have that ability, but you shouldn't learn to use it.
That's very good.
Who left our druid of the flower circle out
In the
last
rain,
night? She
yeah.
has molded.
Oh,
It's
no.
way too humid here for this druid.
Oh, look at this.
Alright. Also at 2nd level, you gain the ability to mold and direct the growth of plants, instilling them with your nature magic. As an action, instead of transforming into a beast, you can expend one use of your wild shape feature to sprout one magical plant of your choice at a target location you can see within 120 feet of you. You know how to
nice.
sprout 2 different magical plants at 2nd level, Lily of Life and Tangle Thorn.
These magical
you
plants
don't-
are in the document later. We'll talk about them.
Yeah.
So you don't turn into animals, but you
Right.
summon plants to
You
your
can.
bidding.
You can turn into animals still.
Yeah.
It's just an alternate use for wild shit.
Yeah.
Fair
Which was actually played with in the variant, class variants Unearthed Arcana, where you could expend wild shapes to cast Find Familiar.
Yeah, that's not it's not unheard of for
Yeah.
you to have alternate uses of your wild shapes. I think
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I think in the Circle of Spores one you also
I
had
think you can,
alternate
yes.
uses for wild shape.
Yes.
Yeah. You learn how to sprout new magical plants when you reach certain druid levels, as shown in the magical plants table. The capabilities and characteristics of each plant are described at the end of this document.
So at 2nd level, you get the Lily of Life, the Tangle Thorn. At 4th, you get the Grey Deceiver and the Witch's Wicker. And at 8th, you get the Ill Blossom and the Ironwood Rhizome.
And when you achieve your 18th druid level, your nature magic grows in power and longevity. When you use Wild Seed, from then on, magical plants you create last for up to a year, and all ranges and radii associated with their effects are tripled.
Whoa!
And that's 18th level, so that's supposed to be part of like a capstone for you. That
Right.
also
That's
these
cool.
plants you make are now like long-lasting, real plants.
They're permanent fixtures.
I'm just throwing it out there. All the names of these plants sound like really delicious drinks.
You could get at like Jamba Juice.
I'll have a Grey
Yeah.
Deceiver.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that sounds
Tag yourself, I'm Witch's Wicker.
Earl
But I'm
Grey
just-
Deceiver, hot.
Hey. Well, what I was gonna say is I've been thinking about making a D&D themed mixology show, and I might try to turn these each into a drink.
Or a D&D themed mixology subclass for bards?
Ayo.
Bean, look at that. Spicy.
That's a good idea.
Enlivening efflorescence. There's some good words in this document.
Oh, I
What?
just.
Yes, what?
There's some good words, but we sure can't say
I
them.
tried like 6 different words to start this with. I was just gonna make some joke about evanescence and flowers and bring me
I
to
know.
life, you know.
Good joke,
There's
Mercy.
some joke about that, I guess.
Starting at 6th
I
level.
really love it when we when we cut up
Instead of
and
telling-
analyze the joke.
Instead of telling jokes, we say what joke we would have said, and we let the listener imagine a good joke.
Well, I was gonna tell a joke about
Hey.
it, but all that came out was.
Look, the best horror movies don't show the violence. They let you think of how
That's
terrible.
true. So the best comedies shouldn't show the jokes. They should let you think of the funniest
Guys,
jokes.
just imagine if I had told
Yeah.
that joke. You'd be losing it right now.
Honestly, isn't that the sort of premise of the Monty Python skit about the funniest joke? And like,
Yes.
Yeah.
they never
Yeah,
say it because it
exactly.
kills everyone who hears it, but it's like, it could be anything.
Man, y'all weren't ready for that joke. It was too powerful. I had to hold back for your own good.
Enlivening efflorescence. Wake me up.
Yeah.
Starting at 6th level, your nature magic invigorates your allies, imbuing them with speed and grace. Immediately after you sprout a magical plant using your wild seed feature, you may choose a number of creatures within 10 feet of that plant, up to a number equal to your wisdom modifier. They are granted a bonus 10 feet of walking speed until the end of your turn. When a creature gains this speed, it can immediately use its reaction to move up to its speed without triggering opportunity attacks. When you gain your 18th Druid level and your Wild Seed feature is enhanced, the range of this feature and the amount of bonus speed it grants are also tripled to the previous one. So yeah, you get to, whenever you sprout one of your flowers in combat, now it like is a distraction that allows all of your friends to quickly get out of the way or reposition.
That's cool.
So that they can play the field how it is now. Really
And
good.
it just gives them a little bit of extra movement and gives them it's kind of like a battle master reaction
Yeah.
movement thing.
Yeah, or like a little mini kind of like Zephyr strike, like you get a little speed and a little dodge and you get out of there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really love this because already, we're not even all the way through, it already feels so much like when you're like, man, I want to play a druid. I want to be like a nature
wizard.
naturey person.
Yeah.
This is like what that feels like. It really hits that.
There hasn't really been that. I've been missing it.
They've
I
been
agree.
more animal
Yeah.
focused, I think.
The druids have been
And
very
not that
animal
the other
themed.
druids. Yeah, and that's cool and that's fine. But having this ultimate nature.
Love it. It
So-
honestly
and
feels
to
like
be
a
fair-
gap that's been left.
A little bit.
To be fair, the circle of the land, while not nearly
It's
as
more
powerful
magic
as the circle of
focused,
the
yeah.
moon, nor as popular, is a lot more spell and magic nature focused and stuff like that.
The thing
But
is-
it's actually, I would argue, it's more of like even on that note, it's more of the wizard druid
Yes.
than it
Yes,
is the
it
nature.
is.
See, that's what I'm
druid.
saying.
Yeah,
When you
correct,
think
yeah.
of the ultimate annoying planty boy, this is like what you're thinking of the
Annoying
person who's like,
planty.
Do you often
But,
think
like,
of
the-
an
Do
ultimate
you
annoying
hate
planty
people
boys?
who love plants? Weird take, Bean.
Wow,
No,
Bean
but I
hates
just
the
mean-
environment. Weird,
Wow.
weird for a
yeah, I do.
legume to hate plants.
I feel like this projection, B.
it's just because I hate myself. Anyway.
That's what projection means.
Next up is Green Speaker. When you reach 10th level, you gain the ability to glimpse a plant's mind. By touching a plant and concentrating for 10 minutes, you can share sensory glimpses of that plant's memories. For example, you might be able to glean from a tree the knowledge that a large creature passed by recently, shaking the ground and scraping its bark, but not what the creature looked like. So it's sort of a limited speak with plants.
Yeah. Well, the thing
Okay.
is, it's limited, but also not limited, because speak with plants,
Right.
you have to have spell slots for.
It's limited power, but unlimited usage.
And
Well, it's limited to what plants are able to perceive.
Who's to say what a plant
Yeah.
can perceive, you know?
That's
They
one
do
of those
not
things
have eyes. They
where it's
cannot
like, yeah,
see
you
anything.
you can tell something rumbled by because it can feel it, but it
I
doesn't
think-
have eyes.
Yeah, I think personally, of all of the abilities in this document, which are all wonderful and is a greatly designed class, I feel like this one needs a slight tweak. I might suggest. I feel
Well,
like this has got to just be as an action, or else it's just casting speak with plants as a ritual, but worse.
I have a question. How are plants real if their eyes aren't real?
Okay, thank you.
Well,
but yeah,
and that's the thing too. This is a cool ability. I'm ignoring that.
Yeah.
This is a cool ability because we have to get through this document. This is a cool ability, but I don't know if this is a cool ability for 10th level.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's one of those
Sure.
things where it's like, if this were maybe like tacked on to an earlier ability or something like that, that would feel cool. I do have one correction to make. Speak with animals is a ritual 1st level spell. Speak with plants is a 3rd level spell and is not a ritual.
I knew it was higher level. I didn't know it wasn't a ritual.
I thought it was a ritual. Well, then never mind. This is actually pretty deep. This lets you cast it as a ritual,
Oh, there you go.
essentially. This
Yeah,
is a way
pretty
to
much.
ritual cast it. The thing that I like about it is that it lets you be that sort of Legolas where he goes like into the dark woods and he's like, these trees are old and they're angry or whatever, where it's like you get a sort of vibe of the plants without getting the literal like
That's kinda
speak with
cool.
plants. Hey, Mr. Tree, how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing pretty good today.
I sort of feel like this, though, is something that you want to have from the beginning. Like, this is so, for me,
this is-
integral to,
Yeah.
to what I would be going for if I was taking the subclass. You'd want it early on.
I understand that. I do think that the 10th level slot for a lot of druids is sort of like it's a ribbon.
Underwhelming.
Well, it's called a ribbon ability often, where it's more about like role play versatility than really anything like super useful in like combat or anything like
Yeah.
that. And so looking for, I wanted this ability where you can really naturally communicate with plants. Of all of the levels, like, of how the framework of druids are set up, 10th makes sense for that because it's where you put your role-playing kind of ribbony abilities. But I understand what you mean, where you want to be able to talk to plants very early on. I don't know.
Well, it's just the thing is about this, we can't not draw a comparison to Speak with Plants. And while Speak with Plants is a little different, what Speak with Plants does is it basically animates plants around you so that they are capable of speech.
Yeah.
Which is kind of an interesting twist, whereas Speak with Animals just means you can speak and understand animals. But the thing is that at 10th level, you have been able to cast and prepare Speak with Plants for 5 levels. That's like a year of gameplay.
It's like this doesn't add
Yeah.
much at that point.
So this doesn't really add anything. If anything, it just says, oh, I can, like you said, I can cast Speak with Plants, but I can get the bare bones of Speak with Plants without having to cast it. That's not very exciting.
Yeah. It's definitely that's I think my general feedback is that that's not a super exciting ability, and I want it to be a little more like when I take it, I want to feel good about it. But overall, it's
like,
still
and even
fits.
if this was this fits and it's a nice ability. But if you want the 10th level to be a ribbon ability, I think it should be something.
I just think my problem is that the design philosophy of giving a ribbon ability at 10th level is silly, but whatever.
I just had
That's just me, though.
I agree with you on that. Yeah, I don't
that's
like
on
that.
that's on
If you
Wizards of the
notice-
Coast.
That's not on this grade.
Well, if we want to jump down that rabbit hole a little bit, you'll notice a lot lately in the stuff they've been releasing in Xanathar's Guide to Everything and stuff like that. They've actually been getting rid of ribbon abilities, or when they give ribbon abilities, they also
put
give
another
other
ability.
abilities.
They're
Yeah.
also useful.
They've been almost in all but word backing off of that design philosophy.
Sure, yeah.
in classic Mercy fashion of just thinking of here's a completely different idea for an ability.
Well,
I think I almost feel like it would be cool if you wanted to make it a higher level ability that was maybe more useful or like impacted the experience more. I feel like something to do with like plant telepathy could almost come into play with combat. Like if you can't be surprised because you'll sense it through the nearby plants that someone's about to ambush you, like right before you get attacked, a tree's like, there's a dude over here.
Yo, this guy's acting pretty sus.
But I feel like that's kind of cool and flavorful. Like I can almost imagine like a Poison Ivy type character or a Legolas type character being like, duck, right before the arrows shoot because they're so in touch with...
Okay, but
Why is
that's
he so
kind of
worried
like
about a duck?
But that's kind of like Avatar, Pandora Avatar. Like you have a little bit of a hive mind connection with the plants that are around
yeah,
you.
I
That's
get what
kind
you're
of
saying.
that's
cool.
what,
Yeah, I like that.
Sure. All right,
But anyways,
let's talk about the final ability here, and then we'll touch on each of the plants. The plants are kind of like dense paragraphs, but we'll get through them. The final ability, Verdant Channel. Beginning at 14th level, you gain the ability to use your magical plant life as a conduit for your spells. When you cast a spell which targets one or more creatures or areas, you may treat the range of that spell as if it were extended to 1 mile, wait for it, only for the purpose of selecting targets that are either in close contact with or within 5 feet of magical plants that you created. For example, I like them including an example because that's handy for me, the reader. For example, if a creature were grappled by your Tangle Thorn, you could cast Cure Wounds or Blight, targeting that creature, even if you were standing 400 feet away. As another example, if you were half a mile distant from an area on which you cast Entangle, you could cast Thunder Wave and choose a 15-foot cubic area right above the surface of your Entangle to be subjected to the wave, or cast Ice Storm and have the origin of the storm emanate from your grasping plants.
That's cool.
So when you plant a magic plant seed, you maintain a connection to that.
You basically gain like a little ward.
Mm-hmm. Technically, what they are referencing there also is that they tried to word it so that it isn't just the magical plants provided by your wild seed, but any magical plants you create, which the spell Entangle creates a field of magical plants.
Yeah.
Or plant growth.
Yeah, plant growth also. So if you can make plants out of magic by any means, this works for them, not just your wild seed feature plants.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's what they tried to reference there with that ability referencing Entangle. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it kind of is like which we've talked about before, casting a spell through your familiar. You know, it can extend the range of the spell if it's a touch spell, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But this is obviously a much bigger and better version, but it's their whole capstone, so it makes sense that it's
super cool.
Much bigger and better. I love the idea that you've got these plants popping up, and then they can act almost as this like tower defense game simulator, where like maybe you plant one of your what were they called?
Well, like the party's castle or wherever they live is definitely going to be surrounded by magical plants that you have set up that are now defense turrets that you can
and they last for a year now because
My only question for like gameplay for using this is, can you like see through the magical plants like you can with
and that's the other
because
issue.
if not, you're gonna need a way, because if you're a mile away, how can you see that there's a creature nearby you could see,
especially if like the way that the spells are worded are like, cast this on a creature you can see. If you can't technically see from the plant, then you actually won't be able to cast most spells.
This would be a little bit better if you could kind of do an alarm system with them as well, because you do have the ability now to sort of sense plants' thoughts. So if your plants, which you now have a connection to from miles away, could communicate to you. So if you're like, hey, if you, according to your little plant brain, if something comes by and it seems hostile, let me know.
Give me a jangle.
Yeah. For sure.
I just feel like there might need to be a little addition there.
Well, I definitely think it is a really compelling idea that like I could see Jeremy Crawford just like losing sleep over, because the horrible corner cases where someone's got a question that has no great answer. But that's also like, there would be a lot of work in fleshing all that out and smoothing it out so that it's a clean and simple explanation of how this works and how it doesn't work. What they've done here gets the general idea across, and I think that with some further editing and further feedback from people like our listeners, other people in the community, this could get refined to a place where it always is consistent, it works how you think it will. You can have your plants and cast spells through them in a way that like mechanically functions.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Have your plants and eat them too. I don't think that's a great idea, especially if you can hear their thoughts.
I ate my magic salad and it screamed the whole time.
That's so dark.
Listen, I've thought about this a lot since I'm planning a poison ivy character, and most of the time that you harvest something off a plant, you don't kill the plant. Like, eating a strawberry doesn't kill the strawberry plant, you know?
Most of the time.
I've been eating tomatoes all wrong, then.
Plants are also very, very, very resilient, and they are designed to have creatures eat them. That's, like, how they proliferate themselves.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So let's touch on all these magical plants you can spawn. There are 6 magical plants in the document. Here, let's talk on the general characteristics. These magical plants wilt away 8 hours after sprouting as your magic returns to the earth. These magical plants are not creatures, objects, or conventional plants. They are solid enchantments woven out of nature magic. They cannot be conventionally damaged, but they can be dispelled. Creatures can freely occupy and move through the space of these plants, unless otherwise specified. These plants may appear to sprout from any surface, or float ethereally in open space, depending on the target location you choose. Their effect can spread around corners, but cannot penetrate total obstruction.
Okay.
They're not real plants, so if your DM's like, well, there's no dirt here, it's like, nah, I'm gonna it's magic.
Excited.
It's nature magic. It's nature magic.
They can appear pretty much anywhere.
They can show up anywhere. Yeah. You got excited about what, Onog?
I just got excited about little plant friends, but they're not even real.
They are plants. They're just special plants.
They're just special holodeck plants.
Look with your special plants. Magical plant options. Lily of Life. A massive golden trumpet lily 10 feet across and tall, drooping with nectar and spreading pollen to the wind. This is a very, sensual description.
Ooh, reread that in a sensual voice.
No, thank you. A creature can drink the flowers... A creature can drink this flower's nectar.
This is a sexy plant.
No.
I like this.
A creature can drink this flower's nectar as an action, receiving enough nourishment to sustain itself for 1 day. The flower produces enough nectar to sustain 10 creatures for 1 day each, replenishing itself each day at dawn. The first time a creature drinks from a particular Lily of Life, that flower's nectar cures them of one disease or the poisoned condition, their choice. While you are within 120 feet of this plant, you may command it to release a puff of curative pollen as a bonus action. The pollen dusts over all creatures within 30 feet of the flower, granting advantage on death saving throws and saving throws made to resist poison until the start of your next turn. While a creature has the benefit of this pollen, hit points granted to it are maximized, and it has resistance to poison and necrotic damage.
Ooh.
I like that
There's a
that's
lot
not
going
just
on.
a plant that heals you, though.
No, it's not. And that's really interesting, is
Yeah.
it doesn't actually heal you at all. But
It just makes healing more effective.
yeah, it helps you out with healing. It also, I really like the design work here. There's enough that I have to spend on doing these things that it's not just a, well, duh, why don't I just do that every turn? Because I'm using parts of my turn to do it. It has a range. It is a plant, and one of the things about the plants is that once you pick a spot for them, they can't move. They last for 8 hours, and they're just there. So if I do it in a spot and then combat moves, the dragon flies away. I'm like, oh well, bye, plant. I'll see you later, I guess.
I'll cast Lightning Storm through you later.
Yeah, I'll cast Lightning Storm through you in a couple hours. Yeah. But I agree, Bean. There's a lot of really clever design work here. Then it's not just while you are near this plant, you get 1d4 health or something. Clever work. Good stuff. This is the kind of design I like. This is the kind of fastness I want. Tangle Thorn. A spiny bush composed of long barbed brambles curled around each other in a tight tangle. That was a sentence. 5 feet across. While you're within 120 feet of this plant, you may command it to extend a branch and lash out as a bonus action. Lashing branches can extend up to 30 feet, and they can twist around corners or thread through gaps as small as 1 inch wide. One target creature you choose within reach of a branch must make a strength saving throw against your spell save DC. The target takes 2d4 piercing damage and becomes grappled by the bush on a failure, or takes only half the damage and breaks free on a success. A grappled creature may take an action to repeat the saving throw, becoming released on a success, but suffering the damage again on a failure. The bush has 10 branches with which it can grapple. It can only lash out if it has at least one free branch.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Sort of a interesting, like a thorn whip combined with sort of an entangle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
That's cool.
It's kind of cool.
And the thing
These are all good so far because they're better than other spells that already exist, but they're a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
So that's how it balances.
and you spend your wild shapes, which are a much more limited resource than
yeah.
spell slots.
Those are precious.
Yeah, you get 2. That's it. You get 2. So you want to choose when and where to do these really efficiently, because you're not getting these back anytime soon.
Grey Deceiver. A soft bed of inky, translucent spore caps sprawling across a flat, round area 20 feet across. While you are within 120 feet of this plant, you may command it to release a puff of mind-numbing, sense-dulling spores as a bonus action. All creatures within 10 feet of the plant must pass a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC or become charmed by the plant. While charmed this way, a creature cannot see, hear, taste, or smell, but doesn't recognize this state or the presence of the Grey Deceiver as unusual or worthy of alarm. An afflicted creature repeats the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending these effects on itself on a success. When these effects end on a creature, that creature recognizes them as strange and alarming, but such a creature will forget about its concerns if it becomes charmed this way again until the instance of the effect ends.
Cool.
Just a way to lock down a dude completely, you know?
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah. It's like the classic kind of poison ivy...
Pheromone.
Yeah, pheromone
thing.
dust.
Like hypnosis.
Yeah, they get hypnotized and they're just out. They're just out of the fight for now.
I mean, it's even like the poppies in like Wizard of Oz almost.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
I like that version, like that specific sort of use of charming more than I like it when it's like put into weird like sexual romantic connotations. You know, I feel like something like this where it's almost more like a hypnotic pattern where it just kind of locks you down.
Yeah.
You're just sort of trapped there and feeling calm. I am more comfortable using and I enjoy more, so I like I just applaud the use of that mechanic here. I think it was good.
I also like that because it's a plant and it's the effect of the plant, once you break out of it, you might be able to be affected by it again. Whereas so many other things, so like Tasha's Hideous Laughter, for example, I love that spell, except as soon as someone breaks out of it, it's like done. So it's almost useless sometimes.
Yeah, it's like if they pass their saves, it can end before it ever really did much. And it's like, that's the problem with a lot of save-based spells.
Yeah, whereas with this, if they don't get out of the fungus, they might like get affected by it again.
If you and your party can like keep them boxed in with the plant somehow, great. You've locked them down.
They are among the fungus. If the fungus is still among us.
Amongst them. Which is Wicker.
And it is a Grey Deceiver, which is in a way an imposter.
Man,
there you go.
That episode ref though, nice work. Which is Wicker, a fast-growing hardy jumble of thin woody vines. When you sprout this plant, it rapidly spirals out into a dense and sturdy continuous structure, roughly in the shape of a 5-foot diameter cylinder, up to 30 feet long. The wicker can only grow through unoccupied space, but you can direct its growth to curve along any continuous path you choose. It is slightly animated, twisting and writhing to assist you or impede your foes. Ordinary creatures cannot climb the wicker, and must spend 4 feet of movement for each foot they move through the wicker's space. Wow, that's like hyper difficult terrain.
Yeah, that's cool.
When a creature comes in contact with the wicker while you're within 120 feet of this plant, you may choose to have the wicker assist that creature, allowing that creature from then on to climb the wicker's surface as if under the effect of the spider walk spell, and to move through the wicker's space unimpeded. When you gain your 18th druid level and your wild seed feature is enhanced, you may have this plant grow up to 90 feet long.
I like that a lot.
It's actually, though, just sort of the, like, the vines in Minecraft, where, like, for the people that it helps, where you can, like, pass through them or just, like, use them as an elevator. Yeah. You just, like, shoot up the side of them, you're like, see you guys. It also hits that cool, like, Jack and the Giant Beanstalk vibe.
Majorly.
And it's really good for, like, we've escaped up the cliff, but now the enemies are going to have to take a long time to climb it.
Can't be followed, yeah.
Like, they have to either find another way around or spend a lot of movement trying to climb my plant.
I don't think they can climb it at all. They can just, it takes a lot of movement to try and pass through it.
Oh, to, like,
they
break
can't climb
through
it at all.
Gotcha. So if you use it as a wall.
I mean, you could even, if there's like a big minotaur or whatever chomping you could just be like, poof, and everyone climbs up the plant, and then you can kind of pick it off from a little higher.
Yeah, that's true.
That's really nice. Get you out of range of like melee fighters and stuff.
Let's see. What level does that, that is, so you would have to be at least 4th level before you get that. So that's not too far in.
No, it's not. I mean, and like we've said, these are quite powerful, but they're sort of like, single use. You get your one wild shape, and then you've already wasted your other one on becoming a bird earlier for a joke, and it's like, ugh, so embarrassing now. And now you've done this, and it's like that is your whole ability for the rest of the day. Sure, you have your spells, you're a spellcaster, but like that's kind of your whole class. That's what it does. So while I feel like I understand some people feeling like these are really powerful, maybe too powerful, I feel pretty good about it. I'm gonna let them slide.
I mean, it's a little bit like you're turning the druid's wild shapes into warlock spell slots.
Kinda, yeah. In a weird way, it's like with some of these, if I turned into, there are like different options for druids to turn into that make it harder for the enemy to follow you if the druid turns into a big bear and impedes their movement the whole way. And so it's like, in some ways you can sacrifice it for similar effects, like, but becoming a bear has a lot of versatility to it.
Right.
It heals you and it gives you like better combat stats.
The extra like AC is huge, and automatically having basically a magic weapon.
Yeah. At a certain level, yeah.
All right, the next one is Ill Blossom. Any guesses as to what this does?
I mean, it's ill. Is
Yeah, correct. It's ill.
Yep,
It makes you
yep.
sick. You're right.
Yep.
You did it.
oh yeah.
Well, I think it makes you into an illithid, a mind flayer. I know their real names because I'm a huge nerd.
Wow, how unique for you. In
I'm-
this
We're
world.
all running a D&D podcast.
Wow.
I'm not like other nerds. I know mind flayers are actually called illithids.
You know we both own that book, right?
I'm not
Yes,
like
I-
other nerds. I'm not a little piece of candy in a box.
Ooh,
Yeah, mind flayer.
Good joke.
Mind
Mind flayers are
flayer
little
is actually
one.
incredibly offensive. A lot of them like to eat different kinds of cooked brains. Not all of them like to fillet them. Some of them like to
That's fair.
roast them. Some of them like...
For the record-
It's not spelled fillet. It's spelled flay, and that like as in Bobby Flay. And that has always bothered me because they're called mind filleters because they fillet your mind, and it's like, no, they don't.
no,
that
they-
would be spelled fillet.
No, they flay your mind like,
Like-
you flay skin. They like peel
No,
it
I
back.
know that,
Yeah,
but people
yeah.
say
They
fillet
fillet,
as
yeah.
like people mean fillet as in.
For the record, being that nerd's joke was very good.
Yeah, I
All right,
liked
let's
that a
move
lot.
on. Let's move on.
Ill Blossom! A noxious bundle of red-brown inflorescences sagging over itself in a grotesquely large mound 10 feet tall and 20 feet wide. While you are within 120 feet of this plant, you may command it to release a pestilent miasma as a bonus action. All creatures within 10 feet of the plant must pass a Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC or become diseased, afflicted with a magical blight called Droop Rot. Creatures suffering from Droop Rot that you inflicted are less able to resist your magical influence. They suffer from disadvantage on Constitution, Charisma, and Wisdom saving throws against your spells or magical effects, and you have advantage on spell attacks against such creatures.
Nice.
Their skin or outer surface slowly begins to display dull blotches of yellow-brown desiccation, and their hard tissues, such as bones and teeth, gradually soften and droop. No! An afflicted creature can repeat the saving throw whenever it finishes a long rest, ending the disease on itself if it passes. When a creature has been afflicted with Droop Rot continuously for 3 days, the negative effects of the disease apply to all magic, not just magic cast by you. After 7 days of continuous infection, the sufferer gains disadvantage on all saving throws, all attacks made against it have advantage, and its hit point maximum is reduced by half. After 1 month of continuous infection, that creature dies.
That might be a little strong for 8th level.
Dang!
Just go.
That might be a little strong for I can do this as a bonus, or I can do this twice per short rest at
Wow.
8th level.
That's strong.
Not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, the first effects of it only come into play, really, unless it's like unless they're not dying right now, unless you use this to, like, secretly poison somebody or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like...
But it also, I
Curse.
suppose, depends on the kind of magic world you're running. Because if a potion of cure disease is, like, readily available, this is, like, significantly less good.
Yeah.
If, like, a local wizard or paladin or cleric or whatever can just be like, okay, boop.
But still, like I don't. Like, once again, like this is a really cool thing. Even the ability to grant disadvantage on your saves.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Even without that, that's way powerful for 8th level.
Definitely.
That's super powerful. And then the ability for, should they remain unattended by a physician, it just kills them. Like that, that's one of those things where it's like that should be the plant you get at 18th level. Like,
Yeah. I think the plants are a little bit front-loaded, and they might benefit from being spread out through the class a bit more.
well, that does seem to be on purpose, because
Yeah.
they're like, you want to be the plant wizard, so let's give you the plant.
Which, yeah, totally. Give me the plant. Yeah, definitely.
Give me the plant.
The final one, the Ironwood Rhizome. A knotted, gnarled bulb from which the notoriously hardy ironwood tree springs. The bulb is roughly spherical and about 5 feet in diameter. You may choose a location within earth or stone for the bulb to manifest, such as underground or within a wall, even if you cannot see the location to target it. The bulb sprouts a radial network of minuscule root threads when sprouted, which spread throughout a 10-foot radius sphere centered on the bulb. These root threads spread through soil, stone, along hard surfaces, and even through open air or water to pervade the area. They're extraordinarily thin, and cannot be seen or felt unless a creature knows precisely where one can be found, and passes a DC 25 intelligence investigation check
And, not or.
when searching for it. When you are within 120 feet of the bulb, you may command it to explosively sprout a 10-foot tall, sharp, and pointed sapling from anywhere within the root network. Choose one target creature within that area. It must make a dexterity saving throw against your spell save DC, becoming impaled by the sapling and suffering 5d10 piercing damage on a failure, only taking half as much damage on a success. If the target creature is restrained or grappled by a magical plant you created, such as your Entangle spell or your Tangle Thorn, the sapling deals bonus damage equal to twice your druid level. The sapling, bulbs, and roots wilt away immediately after executing this command, their magic completely expended. That'll wrap up all of the plants. Overall, I think, if anything, the class is a little overtuned. I understand that. It is quite good. It's got some very powerful abilities that
I liked a lot.
it gets quite early. Generally, I like power. I like the players receiving power. I know that sounded like I personally crave power,
but that's
ridiculous. I don't.
That's also a great design philosophy, because you can always make something too powerful and scale it back, but if you make something uninteresting, nobody cares, you know.
And I would personally argue that there is a gap in high-end, like, content as far as D&D goes for, like, man, I wish I could challenge my really powerful party. Oh, like, I never get to use 7 dragons at once, but maybe if they were all very powerful.
Tree mines.
Yeah, I would much rather, I'm all about being, like, liberal with the magic items, take a feat at no expense, like letting your
whoa that's content.
But just starting everybody off at the feet, just letting your players be powerful so that you can throw them into more dangerous, higher stakes situations with more interesting enemies. And I understand that isn't by no means like, is that the only correct way to play D&D? It can be fun to do.
Whoa. If I know one thing about D&D, it's that the way I like to play is the only correct way to play it.
I'm just saying, I enjoy playing it in other ways as well, but I think that can be a really fun thing to do. So I don't mind things being OP as much as I mind the other way around, you know?
Yeah.
Well, just luckily this isn't that OP. It wouldn't actually take that much scaling back.
Definitely.
This isn't like you're saying you are aware to Rask.
Yeah, I just think, I think where we get the concept that it is OP is that there's all these cool things in it. They just need to be scrambled around a little more, and then I think we'd be a little more comfortable with where they land.
Definitely.
Sure.
I think there's a lot of really strong ideas, and even in some of those abilities, like, really clever stuff that I don't see a lot of, that's really, like...
a lot of clever uses of mechanics and abilities.
Really compelling, really nuanced, where an experienced player would love to play with this toolbox, where they have all of these interesting options at their fingertips.
The first thing I want to do with this thing is in a high-level campaign is Tangle Root somebody and then cast Sunbeam multiple times through that Tangle Root.
And then when the sun hits the Tangle Root, it grows.
Yeah.
It's like early Yu-Gi-Oh! Rules, where even though there's no mechanics for it for some reason, the sun makes my plant monster stronger! I've created a rainstorm on the battlefield, and now all my plants get advantage. Why? Just because I think it would make sense for them to. Oh,
Because
okay.
they're digital holograms.
They're digital monsters. Thank you so much, DM Forever, for this incredibly, interesting and fun subclass path for those druids. Looking for that plant wizard life. Looking for that poison ivy experience. I think with a little bit of tooling, a little bit of editing, a little bit of sanding down, this is going to be an incredibly versatile and compelling option for players to use.
I really like it.
Poison ivy loves tree mines.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I honestly think that, and this is not a critique of this subclass, because nowhere did they come out to make specifically a poison ivy.
Yeah.
Druid, that wasn't their intention here. But I think that for my character that I'm planning to play pretty soon, I might Frankenstein together kind of a mixture of this and the Circle of Spores Druid to kind of come up with for my perfect character specifically, which I'd throw that out there as something that can be really fun to do, to mishmash a couple of subclasses, take one ability from here and one ability from there to
your
tailor
personal
something.
homebrew.
Yeah, to make kind of your own homebrew that's really just Frankenstein from other things that have been made.
Frankenstein monster.
Oh my god.
It's not a good enough joke to justify its existence. With that, we'll end.
Hey, everyone says that about me.
You're not a good enough joke? I think you're definitely a good enough joke, Bean. Thank you for being here every episode. You've never once missed an episode. You've never been absent.
No.
We've never,
as I like to say,
been without
thank you
you.
for being a friend.
A frond. Because it's
plants.
Because it's plants.
plants.
Oh, I see.
I can still throw you at this window.
It's a plant week.
I didn't make the fronds joke.
I can't throw him out the window. I'd have to make a save or something.
Can you guys stop making puns? Ona keeps throwing me out the window.
Oh no! I didn't know! That's where we'll end it this week. If you enjoyed this subclass, comment below. Tell us your thoughts about it. If you have a subclass or a race or a magic item that you want us to talk about on this show, send it to us at thecopperfoxinn@gmail.com or on social media at thecopperfoxinn. Remember to like the video and subscribe for future Dungeons & Dragons homebrew discussion content. And until next time,
Keep on adventuring.
plant on adventuring.
I could hear you trying to come up
Keep
with
on plant adventuring. Goodbye.
Watch out for the ironwood tree mine.
Oh yes, I've planted.
Do not step.
I've planted many of them outside.